Good evening from London, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for pro wrestling insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. It's Mailbag Monday here at Wrestling Republic, where we answer your questions that you have submitted via our Instagram stories. And joining me to answer your questions, we firstly have Chaos. How are you today, Chaos?
What's up? What's up? What's up? Yes, I'm good. Happy Monday to everybody. Had a great weekend, and yeah, let's start the week off with a banger and answer these questions.
Absolutely, and you guys have submitted some really damn good questions today. But also joining me to discuss all of them and more, we have got the head of reviews, Coby Galenzoski. How are you, Coby?
What's going on? We always got to do this. Chaos was here on my return, and now he's returning himself after a 1 day hiatus. But anyway, we got this. Mailbag Monday is another one of my creations. So don't want to toot my own horn, but I'm gonna always toot it when I can.
Oh gosh, but that is true. And yeah, we've got a really good show for you guys lined up today, answering your questions that you've submitted via Instagram. So let's get on to the first question you guys have submitted. And this is from @NeoMartin_97 on Instagram, who is asking, who was a worse WWE World Champion? Dolph Ziggler or the Great Khali? And this is quite an interesting question. And I don't really know which one of Dolph Ziggler's world titles that he's really talking about here, because the first heavyweight championship reign, he won it just because Vicky Guerrero said he won it. I thought it was crazy at the time, and looking back on it now, it's even crazier. And then his first defense a week later, Edge defeated him for it in 3 minutes. So I mean, yeah, that reign sucked, but maybe he's talking about the second reign. The second reign was 69 days long, and Dolph Ziggler defeated Alberto Del Rio on Monday Night Raw to win the championship. Due to injury, then wasn't able to defend the title for 68 days, but on the 69th day, he was able to defend it against Alberto Del Rio, who he won the title off, and he lost it in 13 minutes. So, I mean, that was pretty damn bad too. I guess a longer title reign, and I guess a reign in which he actually won the title, which is a positive. But then if we go to Great Khali's reign, Great Khali won 20-man Battle Royale to win the vacant World Championship.
Keep in mind, all of these title reigns have Edge in common. Well, the two title reigns have Edge in common because Khali won it in the Battle Royal after Edge relinquished it. So
that is true. That is true. But yeah, Great Khali won it in that 20-man Battle Royale. Before then defending it at the Great American Bash 2007 against Batista and Kane, before then losing to Batista at SummerSlam by DQ, so it wasn't a title change. But then the month later at Unforgiven, he lost to Batista and Rey Mysterio in a triple threat match and did lose the championship. So, I mean, that was pretty damn bad booking as well. So, quite frankly, both of them absolutely sucked. I don't know which Dolph Ziggler title reign you're really referring to there. I mean, I guess I'll presume the second, because the first one was undoubtedly the worst title reign in history. But Chaos, I'll head to you first. Which one do you think is worse?
So it like got in, not even my gut, just just instantaneously, I would normally go for the Great Khali because I think he's one of the worst people that ever graced the squared the squared circle. So, but when you look at it, he actually lasted longer as a champion. I think he's had multi world. Is he a 2-time world champion? I believe he is. I think he is.
Oh, is he?
I think so. I think he's won it twice.
I'll double check that for you now.
Yeah, double check that.
But yeah.
But yeah, in terms of longevity and the only great part of Ziggler's title reign was when he pretty much cashed in.
Only once.
Only won it once. Okay, apologies. So yeah, the only memorable part of Ziggler's title reign would have to be obviously when he cashed in the Money in the Bank contract, which I was there for, by the way. That was an awesome moment. So yeah, it's I think, no doubtedly, when you think about it, Ziggler was definitely the worst champion. He finally got the chance to become the top star, and unfortunately, he got concussed. I was reading it about what happened. So yeah, he did have suffered a concussion against when he facing Swagger, and he was off for over a month. And they had that number one contenders match, and that's how Del Rio won it back, and then they did that double turn. I remember did a double turn during that match as well. And he pretty much he was the first Finn Balor, if anything. He had that one chance at the well, I guess technically second, but this was his first true opportunity to be, the top guy on Raw, and he's never been the same since, arguably.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think when you look at the numbers, or as Soul says, face the facts, Ziggler is probably the worst champion, even though, like as a wrestler, Great Khali as a whole, it will always be number one in my heart. But yeah, in terms of championships, Ziggler is the worst champion.
Why is Soul trying to just steal Kurt Hawkins' gimmick?
No, it's because that's what you call lazy creativity.
But we've got a couple of comments here. The first one is from Soul, who's going, "How dare they insult Ziggler's World Championship reign?" We've also got Clark Taylor, who's on his day off today, saying, "If you don't say Khali, you're just wrong." The best thing about Khali's reign was his cameo in the longest yard. Numero one Superfly's back in the comments saying, "Didn't Great Khali hold the title?"
Yes, he did, infamously.
Yes. And also, we could Soul saying the best thing about Khali was him assisting a true WWE champion via the Jinder Mahal.
Yep.
I mean, to be honest, there's an argument for that. But we've also got Clark in the comments arguing with that, saying, no, what was better was when he played a lineman for Adam Sandler's prison football team in the longest yard, and given multiple takes, he actually got, for once, coordinated in the movie. But yeah, I mean, yeah, both World Championship wins were absolutely awful. But Coby, which one do you hate more, I guess?
I think it comes down to what each title reign was. And I'm not going to consider Ziggler's getting the title handed to him for Vicky and then Edge just winning it for whatever reason. I'm going to count the overall title reign of his Money in the Bank cash-in. So his Money in the Bank cash-in still goes down as one of the best cash-ins of all time.
100%.
At the end of the day, as a moment, it's a great moment. It obviously sucks. A concussion ruined it, and he never got to have a proper championship reign. But I look at Great Khali after winning, like we said, he held the title up wrong, infamously, but Edge vacated it. He won it in a battle royal, which Ziggler already beats him in the match he wanted in. And then but that's the thing, Khali getting the title was just another one of those failed experiments of, this is a big guy, he's a big Indian, let's go for the Indian market. And at the end of the day, obviously, he never could hang and never could be a successful world champion. If you're going with length, yeah, I guess you can say Ziggler had the worst reign, but I think at least Ziggler had the potential to be a good world champion. Great Khali maybe had more defenses, but at the end of the day, I wasn't there to watch it and say that Khali was a good world champion. I don't think anyone other than Khali's family or the Khali fan would actually agree with that statement. So I do got to say Great Khali was the worst world champion out of the two.
I mean, they both did suck, but I'm going to be honest, because of the concussion and the fact Dolph Ziggler's reign, apart from him winning the title, I don't even know, to be honest, because they both sucked so badly, but I'm kind of edging towards Great Khali's being slightly better, purely because Dolph Ziggler's reign, it was just the victory. Well, at least Khali had a little bit of a title reign. It sucked, but at least it was something. But yeah, I mean, it's truly the two worst world champions of all time.
100%.
But yeah, it's one of those things where two failed experiments, I guess, which really sucks actually, because Dolph Ziggler, especially a couple of years later, he really deserved to actually be up there in that title picture. I remember in 2016, a lot of people were really hoping he was going to win that championship in that feud with Dean Ambrose. But it was one of those things where it's, what could have been, but wasn't. But let's move on now to the next question, which is from @Dennis L2.7 on Instagram, who is asking, do you think Vince McMahon is back in charge of WWE Creative? And here's the thing about it, right? Now, with this Endeavor deal, Vince McMahon is now, obviously, once the deal goes through, he's going to be the executive. I forgot the exact title the exact title that Vince is going to be which he's going to have. But yes, technically Nick Khan will be answering to Vince, and then Vince will be answering to Ari Emanuel. So that's the ladder of things. So Triple H will answer to Nick Khan. Nick Khan will answer to Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon will answer to Ari Emanuel. So technically speaking, Vince will have some sort of input if he wants an input. However, on day-to-day operations, I think he thought when the deal happened that, hey, I'll go back to creative while the sale's going through, just to show face again, be back, and all that. Improve the quality of whatever. And I think Vince realized after booking that one show and the awful feedback it got that, hey, maybe he should take a little bit of a step back. And people can say all these things about, Vince's ego wouldn't have that happen or whatever. You guys are forgetting that Ari Emanuel is technically his boss now. Well, not now, but will be very soon. And let's be honest about it. Technically, kind of already, unofficially is, right? You'd be crazy to say Ari already isn't, talking to Vince regularly. But I think that Vince saw the feedback and all of that and was like, hey, I'll take a step back. However, do I think that when it comes to pay-per-views or big matches, all that type of thing, do I think Vince has a say? I 100% do. But in terms of who's booking Raw week to week, I don't think Vince is at all. And I mean, Clark Taylor in the comments is asking, does Vince have any clue how goofy that mustache looks? Well, clearly he hasn't seen that bit of the feedback from fans. But yeah, it's one of those things where honestly, Vince isn't the idiot many fans think that he is. It's just his booking no longer, he's booking for a different era. He doesn't understand technically the era which he's booking for now. But I'll pass it to you first, Coby. What was your thoughts on it? So what are your thoughts on this? Do you think Vince is back?
I mean, you pretty much summed it up exactly. I think it's a matter of he was in town. He was in LA for Mania weekend. So, of course, the Raw after Mania is in LA as well. So he was there in person. He was there to do essentially what he wanted. And obviously it is still his choice of whether he wants to start going week to week. It very much seems it hasn't been that way. And I think good riddance. And at the end of the day, I very much think day to day, and ever since that show, it has been Triple H's show. Like we're seeing shows continue to be wrestling based.
Yeah.
And we're seeing things getting pushed, and it's not a matter of this show flowed horribly, which the Raw after Mania did flow horribly. But at the end of the day, Vince, I kind of agree with that statement that I think Vince knew after that show that maybe it wasn't the best or working out the best. Obviously, his ego would never let him say that out loud.
Oh, of course not.
Admit to that publicly. But at the end of the day, I think at least executives realized that to an extent. Yeah. Obviously, I can't speak or speculate on behalf of WWE executives, but I think that very much is. And I 100% agree. I think at the end of the day, in his ESPN with Ari Emanuel, like you said, he's there as a resource. He's there as a resource, which if Triple H is cracking under pressure and maybe needs to ask him something, go ahead. He's able to do that. At the end of the day, I think Triple H still should be the one making the decisions and being the one giving the green light. But like we said, Vince is in that executive position where he probably is the one to overhaul something that was greenlit by Triple H and basically say, maybe we shouldn't do this. And, we're not going to do this. And at the end of the day, I don't think he's. I think he is going to be lenient and barely going to be using that.
If I'm honest as well, I actually think Vince, in a way, was giving feedback and stuff to Triple H prior to WrestleMania, because the booking actually, certain things like being pulled, certain things were being pulled in the month going into WrestleMania that people were like, "What's this about?" And people at the time were making a lot of, I guess people who aren't fans of WWE were making jokes about it and stuff. And it was nothing serious, of course, until the Raw after Mania, where mainstream media were talking about how bad that show was. And that's something which is very uncommon. They were, calling Raw, that show awful and that getting criticism from fans and all of that stuff. And when mainstream media outlooks are talking about it, that is when WWE listens, and they always have. So 110%, I do not think that following that show, Vince believed that he could, be in charge of creative any longer. But we got number one Superfly in the comments saying, should Vince come out and just mess with fans and just talk about how awesome his mustache is, even though it isn't? And Clark saying, yes, he should absolutely do that if he ever comes back on the screen. Lean hard into the mustache gimmick. But Chaos, I'll head to you next. Do you think Vince is back?
Yeah, 100% to a degree. I do agree. I do think that that even though he's not head of creative, I do feel, if anything, the major storylines, he kind of has the final say. And the reason why it doesn't, most of the major stuff doesn't have that Vince stink is because I think Triple H, I would like to think that he knows that Triple H has proven himself to be good at the creative, and the numbers show that the interest is higher than it's ever been in years. Even though arguably I do feel like the bloodline storyline has not been as hot since Mania for obvious reasons. But yeah, it's still the most entertaining thing, and it's still bringing people back to the show, and pay-per-views are doing gangbuster numbers. So surely he must see that, ego or not. Like, again, face the facts that the show is better without him. Where he should truly focus on is on the business side of thing. The fact that he came back, weaseled his way back in, was able to get this crazy ass deal to merge with UFC and whatnot and Endeavor. That's where his talents really lies. He's a great businessman. The creative does not miss him. So yeah, he should just stay on the business side. Apparently his new role is still, even though he's got his new role, this new position, he is still labeled as executive chairman. He will still be the same in this new role, apparently. So but
it's the executive chairman of the new company, not WWE, which is
yeah. That's what I meant.
Actually, getting a promotion technically.
Yeah, essentially, pretty much. So yeah, I think if anything, obviously when it comes to some tricky parts, I'm pretty sure Triple H will try and get his expertise, whatever that may be. But I think he definitely has the final say on the major plot points or the major storylines. But he doesn't have that much interference with it because he knows that it probably will go over, and he just trusts Triple H's instincts. Obviously, we'll give Raw after Mania a pass because he was in town and he couldn't help himself. He just got the itch. We'll just play it to that. But yeah, I don't right now, because of the consistency of quality of the shows lately since Mania. I don't fear that he is slowly trying to creep his way back in that. I think he definitely trusts Triple H and his process and just oversees stuff, and then maybe tinkering if he wants a second hand vote of confidence. So that's what I think.
Yeah, I think you're completely right there. And I mean, we're all slightly concerned following the Raw after Mania, but our concerns have, not completely gone away, I guess, but mostly gone away since then. But now
I think
let's go.
One thing I will say, obviously, everyone's kind of concerned as well because obviously budget cut season is coming up. But obviously, that's the nature of the beast. That's business. Yeah. But I don't think anything major is going to happen. So, but yeah.
No, absolutely, and it's my understanding as well. It's going to be more backstage rather than actual talent as well. So I don't think we're going to see many talent cut, which is a good thing. I don't think it's going to be anything like the pandemic again. Yeah. But let's now move on to the next question. which is from Jacob.vl from our MMA group, who is asking, will there be too much wrestling each week if AEW does the rumored Saturday show, which has been trademarked and all that now? So it's looking very likely. They've already announced the taping for a televised Saturday event, so it's seemingly going to be this, and it's seemingly going to be called AEW Collision based on the trademarks. So yes. Let's say this is a 2-hour show every Saturday. That means Saturday, 2-hour show. Monday night, 3-hour show, Monday Night Raw. Tuesday, 2-hour NXT show. Wednesday, 2-hour Dynamite show. Thursday, 2-hour Impact show. Friday, 2-hour SmackDown show. And sorry, I actually evidently forgot. On Thursdays, 2-hour Ring of Honor show as well. Almost forgot that because of how many there currently are. But here's the thing, right? There's a few different ways of looking at this. We actually did a post on Instagram earlier about it, and quite a few people made this point about you don't need to watch them all. And that is a really, it's a good point to make and all of that. But the fact of the matter is, with the money that's being paid for these shows, especially for, AEW are being paid a lot for each of their shows, and they will be, I presume, for this new show as well off TNT or TBS, whoever it's going to be on. The thing about it is, I don't know. I think there kind of are too many wrestling shows, because it's all well and good to stand you and be like, well, people will watch what they want to watch. There's room for everything and all that. Well, no, because these shows need to, get 750,000 to over 1 million viewers. Rampage is not even getting 500 anymore. Most weeks anyway. I honestly worry that there are too many wrestling shows. We don't know the Ring of Honor viewership, but I doubt that's very good. Impact, of course, isn't doing well numbers-wise now. There are other factors to that, such as, the station and stuff. But people aren't going out of their way to watch Impact, despite the fact that, if I'm going to be honest, I don't really watch Impact. But Anthony Ricciardi watches Impact, and he released an article on WrestlingRepublic.com the other day calling it the Moneyball promotion, where he really praised it. And honestly, I absolutely trust Anthony's opinion on that. So if he's saying it's great, it must be great. But people, despite the fact they're putting on a great product, still aren't going out of their way to watch it. Which, what does that tell us? It tells us that people are already happy with the amount of wrestling content they're getting. So, truthfully speaking, I honestly don't know if there is demand for another 2-hour AEW show each week. Now, maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe the AEW fan base is more different than I think to the WWE one, but truthfully, I think the WWE fan base is different to the AEW fan base, but I don't think the AEW fan base is that different to the WWE fan base, if you get what I'm saying. But yeah, I'll throw it to you first, Chaos. Do you think that there are too many wrestling shows, or do you think that, hey, it's a fair amount?
God, these people. All right, cool. Let me break it down for you. No, there isn't too many shows. The basic crux of it is that, look, there was a time and place a few years ago where a lot of the IWC were complaining that there wasn't even enough on TV. They were pleading, begging for an alternative. We had Impact. No, that's not enough. We want something else. We need something to rival WWE because WWE sucks. Now you're getting that alternative. They're giving you options. And now you're having a nosebleed and thinking, no, it's too much. It's too much. In the words of Daniel Bryan, you're all fickle. Simple as. Sure, it's best to have you can have quality. It depends. I mean, so you can have and it all depends on how they actually treat the shows as well. So if it's only good, it's only interesting, or if you think it's too much, if they're all great and you have to really watch them all. But I mean, like for me, I only watch Dynamite. I don't watch Rampage. I don't feel like I'm missing much when I'm missing Rampage. If they do the same thing with Collision, then I'm gonna miss Collision. Or if they treat it like a B show, like if like Raw and SmackDown the same quality, I'm gonna make time to watch Dynamite and Collision. I don't watch NXT. I just watch Raw, Dynamite, SmackDown. That's only 3. because I feel like the quality and the value on there is more than enough. If they do the same thing with the Collision, I will add that to my plan. It all depends. If you think you like them like them enough, and you think they're of high value, you will make time for that kind of stuff. Don't just watch it because there's wrestling on TV and you think you're gonna miss. You ain't gonna miss The Rock or Stone Cold show up on NXT, are you? It's not gonna happen. Like, it's a developmental show. Like, it's good to have value. You have the options. Choose what you want. There's nothing wrong with having variety and quantity. And if you think that is good enough, then you will make the time. And if it does well, then it does well for them. That's obviously the business side is on their end. But yeah, for us as a consumer, I don't think that, like, the more the merrier, man. Especially when there's like two major promotions that's going on right now. It's not indies or just some mid-tier, low-level company. These are big two Titan show companies that are giving you variety. So people weren't complaining when WWE was doing Raw, SmackDown, Main Event, NXT,
205
Saturday Slam. Remember Saturday Slam?
Yeah.
Like, that's 5 shows. No one was complaining. So yeah, there's more the merrier, man. If the quality is great.
People were complaining about that. People were complaining about Main Event and 205 Live, there being too many shows at that point in time. But we got Soul here in the comments, and he's saying the time period is best for fans. Well, that's certainly true. Right now, there's more content than ever. There's different types of content and all of that. Soul says he doesn't watch WWE, so to have 3 days I can love and watch AEW is perfect for me. WWE fans can watch their product. That's all well and good, and is a good point. However, the data shows that the majority, and this came out last year, I can't remember exactly where it came from, so I don't want to say, even though I believe I do know the source, that the majority of the AEW audience also watches WWE television, whereas a small percentage of the WWE audience watch the AEW product, which tells us that, hey, if WWE and AEW have something on the same time, unless it's NXT, which was AEW was, I don't want to say always going to beat, but it was quite obvious they were going to beat from the start, people are going to end up choosing WWE, which is why, in terms of AEW, I really don't know if business-wise it's going to succeed. But the fact of the matter is we're going to have to wait and find out on that. Let's hope that it is, because let's be real, if it does succeed, that's better for the wrestlers, because there's more jobs going to be going around. It's going to be better for fans, because there's different content you can watch and all of that. But you are right as well, Chaos. As fans, we shouldn't be complaining, but it's looking at it from a business perspective in terms of, will it work or will it not work? And yes, the fact of the matter, we don't know how long this deal is. We don't know what the deal is with this new show, and we're going to have to wait and see. But Coby, I'll head to you next. Do you think there's too many wrestling shows?
I think it strictly depends on the person. At the end of the day, if I'm going to sit here and say I'm a wrestling fan, I watch as much as I can. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm watching every single hour of every wrestling promotion. I'm watching what I can. At the end of the day, I watch Raw, I watch SmackDown. I have a job preventing me from watching Dynamite. I don't feel like I'm missing something by not watching Dynamite or watching Rampage. I think it's interesting that, and then this is what I said to Ben today as a joke, and I said yesterday during our Wrestling Heavens and Hell, our kind of game show, I said, for my general wrestling hell, I should have said as a joke the idea that AEW needs more television time as a joke. At the end of the day, it's interesting to say that despite being the juggernaut, being the top of the card, the top of the company, WWE might be producing less content. And that's counting 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of NXT, and 2 hours of SmackDown. I think it's an hour of Level Up. I think there's the main event that is still being produced. There's also The Bump, which is like their podcast, although it's not a wrestling product.
Yeah, we can't count The Bump.
It's still content WWE's producing. AEW is in the position where they are, at this rate, they're going to have a show every single day. Yes, the vast majority don't watch Dark Elevation. probably a very small percentage of the AEW fan is a Ring of Honor fan, and the small percentage of that are going to actually be subscribed to Honor Club. I think that's the issue with saying Ring of Honor needed to be 2 hours. But like that's the thing. As a wrestling fan, there is too much.
Yeah.
Because there's only so much we can watch. But at the same time, as a wrestling fan, you have the opportunity to pick and choose. You have the say, hey, maybe I want to watch this show this week.
Yeah.
You have that opportunity, but as a wrestling fan who tries to watch as much as he can, there is too much.
Yeah. I mean, like we've all said, the fact that there's more wrestling for fans, that's phenomenal. Regardless, it's absolutely phenomenal. Just from a business perspective, doesn't make sense. And we've got Clark in the comments asking, given that theory, how does any challenger brand stay afloat? Well, I mean, it doesn't matter how much content you're producing as a challenger brand necessarily. If they make Dynamite really great and WWE start to mess up, whereas let's be real here, they did Raw after Mania, and they might do again in the future. That's when you get more eyeballs towards your brand. You keep killing it on Dynamite. Dynamite gets an increased viewership. It continues building, and that's when you go for a second show. In my opinion, I think it's too early because I still think they haven't really taken anything from the WWE fan base yet. But we are going to, we're going to have to wait and see, because I could be wrong about this. Maybe Collision does 1 million every week. Maybe a Dynamite, averages around 1 million every week. Maybe Dynamite does the similar number, carries on doing well like it currently is, because Dynamite's doing strong viewership still, right? Don't get that wrong. But if they can get that same viewership they get for Dynamite for Collision, that would be phenomenal for AEW. That would be a game changer. That'd be more jobs available. All of this really, really great stuff. So certainly something that I hope is the case. But I don't know about it, to be honest with you. I kind of am edging towards there is a little bit too much content. And this leads us right into our next question, which we'll go through quite quickly, from Melissa Robinson, who is asking, if AEW does a new weekly show, is that too much for Tony Khan to handle and be able to book? And the truth of the matter is, he is currently booking AEW Dark, AEW Dark Elevation, AEW Dynamite, AEW Rampage, Ring of Honor, and if you add all that up, that's way over 10 hours of television. So if you were to add Collision to that, if it is 2 hours, whatever, yes, that is.
It is 10. Yeah, even if you give 2 hours to the combination of the Dark, Wednesday night's 3 hours because All Access and 2 Dynamite, Ring of Honor's 2 hours, Rampage is 1 hour, and Collision is more than likely going to be 2 hours. So that is exactly 10 hours of television. Yeah,
I mean that's too much for literally any man to book. This isn't some diss on Tony Khan, not at all. The guy's a superhuman. Nobody can, be able to do as much as he can do, and I genuinely mean that. But no, it's too much for any man to handle over 10 hours to make that all good. But maybe there's somebody out there who could do all of that. But nobody could do all of that. Run Fulham Football Club, help run the Jacksonville Jaguars, and there's also a couple of other things Tony Khan does as well. It's literally impossible. It's impossible to do, right? And that's not some diss on Tony Khan whatsoever. The guy, like I said, is a superhuman, but you can't do it all. You really cannot. So yes, I do think they need to get somebody else in to book the new show and answer, like what they were doing before with Vince. Get Bruce Pritchard to book the show and to, answer to Vince. Vince looks over the script, whatever. Let's hope Tony Khan doesn't rip too many scripts up. But, a similar thing where you get somebody to book the show, Tony Khan then looks over it, gives a thumbs up, thumbs down, makes a couple of changes, whatever. But it's a little bit less hands-on for him with the new show. And I also think you should do that exact same thing with Rampage as well. And Ring of Honor too. I think he should focus on booking Dynamite. And then for the others, he lets somebody else, a few other people book the shows, and he looks over them, makes any changes he sees fit, whatever, and he focuses on long-term vision and just Dynamite. But yeah, I mean, Clark in the comments saying you'd think he's delegated some of that. He's okay. So there are people in creative now in AEW. There's a little bit of a creative team, but it's still mainly Tony Khan. Who's, people are pitching stuff to Tony Khan, but he is well and truly, the main guy hands-on the show. But yeah, firstly, we'll head to Coby. Coby, what are your thoughts? Is this too much for TK to handle?
I think it's already been too much for him to handle. At the end of the day, like the toll is seemingly it is taking the toll on him. As you can see him, he doesn't. I don't want to say he doesn't look healthy, but at the end of the day, it seems like he's not running on a lot of sleep. Some days, he might always be drinking a cup of coffee. I think he very much is overworking himself, and I think as a smart businessman, I think that almost is your job to take the burden off of your back. At the end of the day, there are people in AEW that are more than capable to create a team that are starting to work. If he want, like that's the thing. If he wants the finals up or down like Vince had with Bruce, at the end of the day, I believe that. But he shouldn't be doing this. He shouldn't have a list that's 2 pages long of the things he does on a weekly basis. Because I assure you, he does. Obviously, he has a team. I think Christopher Daniels is talent relations, so he's the one booking like the smaller talent in for Dark. And I tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that is true about Christopher Daniels. But at the end of the day,
booking talent to come in, but I don't know if he's booking them in terms of what the
match. Yeah, no, booking to come in. That's what I said.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yes, yeah, that is
that's
true.
What I said. But like booking talent, like the smaller talent to come in and have tryouts and all that. And I think that is very much true with him. But at the end of the day, I do think it's already been too much, and I don't want him to overstress himself. I don't want him to put himself in an early grave. That type of statement. But like at the end of the day, I don't know business-wise if this is good either. Like we already kind of said, we don't know. We don't know how effective Collision is going to be, and at the end of the day, we don't know.
Yeah, we truly don't. But what about you, Chaos? What are your thoughts on this? Do you think it is possible for TK to be able to keep up with it all? Or do you think that it's just too much? Are you muted, Chaos?
Apologies. Yeah, I feel I agree. I think it's already too much for him already. I feel like, I'm sorry to say, but I feel like what happened in September, a certain pay-per-view that turned into a certain brawl, I feel like that also kind of broke him. I think that like it hasn't been the same since really. And yeah, he just needs to spread it out or just cut back. I mean, sure. I mean, I understand you're giving content to consumers and whatnot, but if you really want to have your hands in all these pots and you're not really willing to share it, or you don't have anyone that a confidant to actually, have, hand over the reins of a lesser show like Vid.
I think we got some connection issues here from Chaos. Just give us a second, guys. There we are. We got you back, I think.
Sorry,
you're back.
Yeah, I just don't feel like if he doesn't really have a right hand man, a confidant to hand over the next show, Collision or whatnot, then yeah, he needs to cut back because yeah, he's just gonna, like you say, he's gonna wear himself down into an early grave, and we don't want to see that. Yeah, he definitely needs some help, 100%. I'm going to take over the reins out at least one of the shows. Definitely, it's too much for one person.
Yeah, absolutely. I 110% do agree with you there. But let's now move on to our final question for the day. And that is from Jose99 on Instagram, who is asking, which NXT stars would you want to debut on the main roster in the WWE draft? And we got about 5 minutes left to answer this one, and I'll go first. I said a couple of weeks ago during the draft segment, me and Clark did for Sunday Fun Day, that I thought Carmelo Hayes should go up because I thought that a heel Braun Breaker should take the title off him at Spring Breaking or whatever that they're calling it that's going on tonight. However, obviously since then, Braun's completely away from the title picture, and it's clear, well, not clear, but it's very unlikely Carmelo's going to be losing that title. So I don't think Carmelo Hayes is going to be called up. And I'm actually going back to thinking Braun Breaker is going to be the guy called up, because why else would you completely take him away from the title picture unless they're going to bring it back at a later date? But I think that's silly. I think now's the time to call Braun up. I think he's ready to start developing, with the main roster. Him coming up as a heel, I think actually is the right choice. And then, because you don't want it to come up as a babyface, over push him, and then have a Roman Reigns, John Cena situation happen, right? Because he's clearly one of those stars who the company, the company want as the next generation, to be the face of the next generation, let's say. So, yes, I think bringing Braun up as a heel is the choice to do it. In terms of other guys, I mean, Cameron Grimes, I think that's long overdue. And there's honestly quite a few others as well. Gigi Dolan's a choice. But yeah, I'll head to you first, Coby, because of course you review NXT each week. You're a big NXT
guy. No, I don't.
You did. You did.
I used to have my toe in that water. I did. And then I put someone else in charge of that. Hey, Tony Khan needs to take some notes. Okay. At the end of the day, I think there's a lot of talent in NXT that have the potential, that should succeed on the main roster given the time to swim instead of barely letting them put their foot in the water. And we've seen that on many occasions in the past. And I think that's one of the big things that are going to come out of this whole regime change is Triple H is going to understand what it takes to call someone up and what it takes to let them have the opportunity instead of, one of the most infamous ones of the last few years, as we saw Hit Row come up probably prematurely, and then they released BFAB. Ashante was injured. They had a month, and then they were cut. At the end of the day, there's no way that is going to happen now, unless Triple H does end up losing it. But I do agree with it. Like, there's people like JD McDonough. I think Tyler Bate had such a showing with Dolph Ziggler. I think there's people like Pretty Deadly that could succeed, and kind of seeing him and Seth Rollins with the wacky outfits would be fun. At the end of the day, there's a lot of talent, and I mean, as much as I want to see them succeed on a grander stage, I don't want to take them out of NXT selfishly. But I mean, yeah, like Tyler. At the end of the day, I don't think Braun Breaker's ready. I don't think Carmelo Hayes is ready either.
Oh wow!
I think we saw this, and
what?
I've yet to see the stand and deliver main event. I think, but I haven't enjoyed Carmelo Hayes' matches this year.
Oh wow!
And I mean, we saw Braun Breaker, Grayson Waller have that steel cage match, which wasn't as good. Like I said, I still need to see the stand and deliver main event, and I am on catch up, but I think there's still a lot of time for them to develop.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going
to put his mic off, please. Oh my gosh! Oh, it's mine. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, you have a minute before we wrap up.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just gonna run it off. So you pretty much named over pretty much the main two that I think is definitely ready. I'll be more interested in Carmelo Hayes in coming up, but I think he's going to be the face of NXT for a while. Cameron Grimes, they ain't doing anything. He's done everything in NXT. He's more than ready. Braun Breaker, I think he needs more time in the oven, understandably, with him, so he can stay there. But I don't know what they're doing with him. It's a bit all over the place. Now, for me, I'm more focused on the women because I feel like the women's division and the main roster needs a lethal dose of revitalization it needs something. So I think that Roxanne Perez will be very good for the main roster, I think. And provided that she's healthy and everything's all good. Zoe Stark, I think, is more than ready to be on the main roster, and then just give a new flavor to the main roster for people to work with, because I think no one's really on the main roster that has her agility and her style. So I think that would be a great mix up. So yeah, those are my four. Braun Breaker, I guess. Cameron Grimes, Zoe Stark, and Roxanne Perez. 110%.
Some great picks there. And honestly, Chaos, I do agree with you. While some people may not be completely ready at times, as long as they're nearly ready, you've kind of just got to chuck them in the deep end.
It works for some people.
Yeah, I mean, there comes a time when that has to happen. But guys, that pretty much brings us to the end of the show today. Thank you all for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow. As we're here every single day. If you're watching on YouTube, please leave a like and subscribe. If you're on Spotify, then please give us a 5-star review and follow us. We really appreciate it. We'll be back same time tomorrow, guys. Enjoy.